Politician Gaston Caperton is quoted by saying, "The gap in education in this country, the unfairness of schools, is one of the great unfairness in society." As a future public school English teacher, the numerous budget cuts in the education department are very concerning. These budget cuts cause the education gap between the wealthy students and the poor students to be the widest it has ever been. In this presentation, I will give a brief introduction to how the public school system is funded in America, as well as how budget cuts in the public school harm low-income students. To fix the education gap, America needs to change the way we fund public schools. So this first slide is going to showcase how money flows into the public school system and what exactly that looks like. As researchers Biddle and Berliner from the Journal of Educational Leadership note, America's public school system is funded through federal allotment programs like literacy programs, the state government through grants that are passed down from the federal government, but over half of public school funding is from local taxes. This may not seem like a huge issue, but by funding schools primarily through local taxes, if most people living in the locale are low income, this means they're not making a lot of money on a yearly basis. And because of that, the schools are going to suffer due to the local taxes being less, and the students are suffering due to lack of resources. So lack of resources can include things such as the newest updates in technology, supplies such as pens, paper, pencils in the classroom, books that people like myself, such as English teachers, are going to be needing. And what happens with these lack of resources is the teachers are having to dig into their own pockets to pay for these resources because they're not going to be reimbursed through the state since there's no money to reimburse them because of the local tax bracket. So because teachers are going to be attracted to areas that are well funded naturally due to an increased salary pay, not only are students suffering from lack of resources, but they're suffering from lack of quality teachers in underfunded areas. And these quality teachers who go to higher funded schools are hurting students' education and their success rate after high school, according to researchers Biddle and Berliner. On the other hand, according to the United States Department of Education, ironically, they realize that there are other countries who are more successful in funding equal public education, but they don't fund their public education based on local taxes. Furthermore, the United States Department of Education examined countries like Finland or Singapore and argued that their public school system closes the education gap not through funding per se, but by including teachers in things such as reforming educational laws concerning education. And additionally, these schools are providing a national curriculum to be taught to students to level the playing field. So what this means is students who may not be able to afford AP classes, such as the low-income students, if we teach them a national curriculum, they're all on the same playing field with their wealthy counterparts. But from a financial standpoint, researchers Biddle and Berliner, who study this unequal funding in America, suggest that we could just model other countries and fund public schools based on the pupils enrolled and their financial needs rather than who lives in the locale. So funding would be based on a spectrum, if you like, to look at it that way, that instead of funding everyone equally or funding them based on some kind of criteria, it's based on how much they need. So whereas other countries are leading the way in reform for public education, we continue to go in the opposite direction. According to the United States Department of Education, the first programs that concern Title I are usually cut before others. So on this slide, one section is giving examples of these programs that are going to be cut, while the other just shows potential causes that are widening the education gap. As you can imagine, this is detrimental for low-income students because Title I was originally designed with these students in mind to help close this education gap between their affluent peers and themselves. So as a result, special education programs, career-based programs, arts programs, and extra services such as mental health and AP classes, etc., are heavily cut, according to the Washington Post. For this reason, class sizes are going to become larger, according to Biddle and Berliner, and when schools are well-funded, class sizes are smaller, which allows for more individual achievement for students. Ultimately, what this is showing is America's approach is not working, but this doesn't have to remain to be the case. In conclusion, America is choosing to fund public schools through local taxes and cut the programs that disadvantaged students are needing. On the contrary, other countries fund their schools in unique ways to promote the disadvantaged students' ability to flourish alongside their affluent peers. As a future educator, I believe in the power of education to change lives. And before cutting the budget on education, we should look to other costs that we could cut back on because education is the foundation of our society. Without education, no one could pursue any pathway. Therefore, education should be the last thing that we're taking money away from. Once again, Biddle and Berliner of Unequal Funding in America suggests the federal government can choose to fund schools based on the number of pupils enrolled. Federal and state governments can provide extra assistance to disadvantaged students, and we the people can change federal policy. We must be the change we want to see. We the people need to help others help themselves. We the people need to fix the education gap. Thank you.